Alright, in this video we'll see how to add a custom tab in product page. So this is your single product page. Now if you come down, you'll see a tab called return policy, and in the return policy you'll see the text that gets displayed. So this is coming from plugin which we are going to create right now. Now let me show you the backend. So in the backend where you add your product, you will find a general tab. If you click on general tab, you will find a text area. So this text area is specifically for return policy. Now this is WYSIWYG editor. WYSIWYG is nothing but what you see is what you get editor. Now to put it in simple words, so this is what you look here will be same displayed on the front end. That's what it means, WYSIWYG. Cool. Now it's a 3-step process. Now in the first step we will see how to add your text area. So here this is the text area. This text area is a tiny MCE text area which is WYSIWYG editor, or you can call it as advanced text editor, and we'll see how to add this text area in the general tab. That's the first step, and we are just rendering the HTML. In the second step, when I click on update, the data which is inside will get stored into the database. That's the second step, that we will write a code. This particular data will get stored into the table. So here it's actually WP post meta where your product related data gets stored. And in the third step, we'll see how to add a tab on the front end. So we have a hook, WooCommerce product tab we call it, and we'll check whether the value is there in the text field or not. If there is a value in text field, then we'll create a tab, and in the tab we'll display the text. So this is 3-step process. So first let's create a plugin. So here I'm going to get into the WP content, so it's in the plugins folder, and let's just create a new folder. So I'm going to name my folder as tab2. So let me just deactivate the old one so that it doesn't get conflict with our current plugin. To make our plugin show in this particular page, we need to give the information like the text description, the version number, the plugin name. So this we will be passing it in the form of comment, PHP comment. Let me just create a new PHP file. We'll call it as tab, similar to the folder name which we have created. And we need to pass, so it's actually PHP file dot PHP should come. Cool. Now let's pass this information in form of PHP comment. So here this is the name, this is the version number, and this is the description. Now if I refresh, you'll find tab2 would be there in this particular page, and if I click on activate, nothing will happen because we haven't written any code. Now what I need is, if I get into my products, add product, and I need to call a hook, and that hook will simply add our HTML in the general tab. So that hook we are going to call it, so this is the hook, WooCommerce product option, general product data. So here the word general comes, it's nothing but general. If it is inventory, then there would be inventory. If it is shipping, then there would be shipping. So now when this hook is called, I want a text area to be displayed. So this text area is nothing but the tiny MCE text area. You can see this is the default WordPress which WordPress use. It's a plugin by jQuery. So let's call that. So we have called WP editor. So this is the place where your HTML will be stored, and this is the unique identifier for this text area, and we are saying our values. Usually every HTML, every input field will have a name attribute. So in the name attribute, with the help of name attribute, we'll have access to the data which is entered over here. So that name attribute is this one, return policy, and we say we don't want media, and we want the text area to be 8 rows long. So this is just the tiny MC text area. Let's make our plugin active. refresh the page, you will find the HTML. So this is just a HTML. It was showing the error because I have missed the semicolon. Now you see the text area is there. So if I write something and click on update, the data will not persist. So to make the data persist, what we have to do is, since this is a post, so this would be stored somewhere. The value which you are going to enter would be stored somewhere with the help of this ID in the database. So we'll store the input field value data, the TinyMC value data, in this return policy. So you see we are accessing that name attribute, and that name attribute is linked to the post ID, and if there is any data, then display that data when saving. So this is basic we have already covered in the previous video. I just wanted to show how the TinyMC works. So in this particular post, the return policy already has this text. So let me remove all the other and store it somewhere. We can use it later on. And if I update it, since we are retrieving the value with the help of post ID, the data would persist. Now you see the data is still there. So for that, we can simply delete those values and check. Actually it won't work because we have missed the second step. So that second step is actually when I click on update, the data which is there on the return policy should get stored. Let's do that. So we have a hook again, and this hook is called admin process product object. So whatever values which you are going to store, it will be in the product object. So that's what the name is, product object. Now let's get the value. So as said, this input field has a name attribute. So that name attribute we have already giving this with the help of WP editor. Now we are checking whether the value is there or not. It's a simple form saving option. When you save a form, PHP stores your name attribute with the help of PHP super global variable post. And we are checking whether while saving whether the text area has a value or not. If there is a value, then what we do is we'll update the return policy meta field. This meta field you will find in the WP post meta. So now it will work. So this is the second step. So if I remove these, and when I click on update, it will check whether the text area has data or not. Syntax error somewhere, we have missed it. It would first check whether the input field has a value or not. If there is a value, then it would update the key, which is, this is the key. You see there is an underscore. It's because it's a private variable in PHP. Now it would update this key in the table, and now that works. You just see only the first line. Now what we need to do is we need to display this in the front end. Now as of now, there will be only one review tab. I want one more tab. So to add a tab, WordPress gives you a hook, and this hook is called WooCommerce product tab. It will have the tab. As of now, we just have only one tab, and we'll have access to all the tab, and with the help of this tab, we will modify the tab and return it again. We'll do some manipulation here, and once the manipulation is done, this tab would get returned and it would get displayed over here. So what we need to do, we need to first check whether this variable has a value or not. If this variable has a value, this is actually a key in the WP post meta. If this key has a value, then create a tab just after the review. So let's see how to do this. So first let's check whether there is a value or not. So to make the code shorter, what we do is we don't check whether the value is there or not. We'll directly create a tab, and where the creation of tab is actually simple in WordPress. We have the access to the tab. So this is actually a tab, and we are naming a tab. So this is the unique ID that we would be providing the tab. So this is a unique ID. Now I want the title of the tab to be return policy. I'm making the priority as 30, so 30 as 50. So if you make it less than the priority would be like 0 to 100. If you give 100, it will stay at the last. If you give 20 or 30, it would try to overtake this and come at first. So this is the priority. I want it to be 50. And now we have named the tab. We have arranged where the tab to be. Now we want what the data should be. So the data should be what the data would be. So the data is actually the key which we have already used while saving it. Now we have that key, and we are simply echoing it. We are simply just echo is nothing but we are simply printing it on the tab called return policy. So this is nothing but this would actually have a HTML. So this is actually an HTML. You can see the code is there. I want this HTML to get printed without breaking the code in the backend. So that's why we use this wpkses post, and if there is a value, then it will get displayed. So if I save it and if I go for refresh, and I'll just for the change, I'm just going to name it as policy. So if you make a refresh, you'll find the tab called policy, and let's try to make this as 10 so that our tab shows at first. And yes, that works, and this is the HTML. And if you want, let me just print this over here, and let's make this bold, and let's make this a list item just for the, you can just make this list item, and if I click on update, you'll find the policy tab would have the similar structure how you see in the text editor. Yeah, that works. Now I hope the steps are clear. We are first creating an input in the general tab, and this input field is nothing but a text area called tinymc, and then we have just rendering the HTML. To save the HTML, we have the hook process product object. It's a tongue twister. Process product object. Now we're checking whether the input field has a value or not. If there is a value, then store it into a key. So this is a meta key, you can call it as meta key, and this is a value, relevant value. So we have a key and a value, and once you click on save, the input field will get stored into this value. Input field data will get stored into the value, into this place, and we are displaying the tab with the help of WooCommerce product tab, and we are simply creating a tab. We are giving the name, we are giving the priority, and we are giving what data should be there. And in the data would be actually what we have entered on the tinymc editor. So this is the name. What you see here, we are passing it as a key, and we'll get that. So what this is actually the key. This is the input field name. So if you will change this, you have to change this, or else it won't work. So for consistency, I have just kept the meta key, also the name attribute common. So this is the best practice that we usually follow in PHP. That's all for this video. Meet you tomorrow with another hook.